Hello and welcome to the Notorious Scoundrels. I am Evan Paul. That is Mike Barry over there. And we have another special guest, Cockles Faulkner. Go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
Hello there. Hello. How you doing? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so those who are big into the Legion sphere may recognize Cockles as the host of the That's No Moon podcast. That is it fair to say it's both the best and the worst Legion podcast that's coming out of the UK right now?
Oh yeah, both things can be true.
Okay,
100%
cool.
true. Yeah.
But we can focus on the other part. But yeah, before we get to that, Mike, how you doing? I feel like I didn't give you any time. How you doing, man?
I'm good. It's sunny outside, as you can see behind me. You can't
Yeah,
see anything.
there's an oppressive glare of blazing sunlight coming from behind you.
It's really just the radiant glow of the reflection off the surface of Ilum. Um,
Oh, cool.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So
I live in Seattle, Washington, and so I don't know what sunlight is, but I hear that it's very nice. In Cockles, you live in England, so you also generally don't know what sunlight is, correct?
We get our sunlight in really, really rare bits. And when it happens, everyone instantly heads to a beach, and then the beaches are crowded, and then it goes and everyone runs back again. And that happens about 3 weekends in a year.
I'm reminded of a line from Snatch where somebody's telling somebody else like, we have beaches, and then the American goes, "Who the f wants to see him?"
Yes. No, that's a great film, by the way.
Yeah. Well, welcome. Thank you for being here. Uh, why now, Cockles? Why do you think that I invited you here? I'm curious. I'm curious to hear your perspective.
I've got. Would you like the serious answer or the comical
I
answer? Which
want
one?
to. I just, give me the comical answer.
Uh, The comical answer is because if you bring Andy or Ollie on the show, you're going to get nonsense. Whereas you bring me on, you're going to get a whole different kind of nonsense. But no, I don't know. No. I think it's probably just to talk about Legion in general, and because I don't consider myself a tier one player like your Luke Cooks, your Ollies, and all this sorts of stuff. I'm more of a sort of the everyman. Maybe it's probably a better way of looking at it, and I have some different takes, which may not be the most high competitive stuff, but I have some takes that probably some people who play the game probably go, yeah, I want to know about that. And that's maybe somewhere where I fit in, if that makes sense. But we've also got the likes of World Team Championships coming up later in the year.
Yeah,
But
we're going to
obviously,
talk about that a little bit, actually. Yeah,
I've been out your way. You've come out to Spain, which is near my way. And you guys,
sort of.
well, and yeah, well, you coming back over this way later in the year. So we can
that's
talk
right.
about that. And yeah, I mean, I'm not going to talk about Legion. I'm going to talk about the social that's going to happen afterwards. So that's going to be the fun part.
Yeah, but that is the most important part of it, absolutely. But
100%.
yeah, I think you nailed it, Cockles. Is that Ollie and Andy? They get their time. I think that they, frankly, in my opinion, I think that they're a little bit mean to you over there sometimes. And so sometimes I wish I was on. Like I have been on your podcast a few times,
You
and
have.
that's another reason is that I believe in human decency, and I believe in proper etiquette. And I've been invited over to your house many times, and you had not been invited over to ours, so it was
Well, no,
about
thank you very
time.
much.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
I think to be fair to Andy and Ollie, some of it I deserve,
You don't need to
but
be fair to
equally,
them.
but equally, you kind of have to let the kids like. Sometimes you got to just let the kids play in the house and mess it up. Sometimes, as long as they tidy up the toys afterwards, they're happy. That sort of thing.
I also have to apologize for the lack of intro music because I know that many folks over in that snowman is that immediately the expectation came up about, okay, well, what's Cockles' intro music going to be? And I had all these ideas. My idea was that I was going to figure out the appropriate Beatles song that aligned with the jobs that all of us had. And which for you being like a fiber network engineer was had
Correct.
to involve a little bit of metaphor because I don't think the Beatles were singing too much about fiber, but I was thinking about Come Together maybe,
Yeah, bring the spike.
or
Yeah.
uh, yeah. Now my mind is blanking on the other ones I was thinking of. But then, what would you say is the Beatles song that personifies being a fiber engineer the most, Cockles?
Oh God, personifies being an engineer.
Yeah.
Help.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, but
Uh,
you can't go wrong with the Beatles. My daughter was born to the Beatles, so I've always got, so I can't go wrong with that. To
oh,
be fair,
which song was it?
it was "Here Comes the Sun."
Aw, that's
She was
perfect.
she was came into the world through that song, so that lives up there.
Yeah. And then Mike, I was gonna have Octopus's Garden for you because Mike
I'm
managed
gonna
a
be
garden
honest.
company.
I'm probably negligent in my Beatles knowledge. So I actually have never heard that song.
Well,
It's known as the one.
homework.
It's the one that Ringo wrote, and so
Okay.
I think that there was like a Family Guy joke or something to where it was showing Paul McCartney. He was like playing. He was almost like the dad,
I
and
know
then
exactly
Ringo
what one you're on
Starr
about.
Ringo Starr brings him. He's like, "Hey, I wrote this song," and then Paul McCartney's he like puts it on the
Yeah,
fridge. He's
yeah.
like, "You
We'll put
did
it on the
put
fridge.
it right here."
Well done, Ringo. Put it right here. Well done. Well done. That's good. I like that.
Yeah. I think that captures the way most people feel about that song. And then for me, it was going to be Dr. Robert, although I think that that song might be about their drug dealer. So I promise, in case the federal government happens to be listening, I promise that is not what I see as my day job. Uh, but probably the less said about that, the better.
Yep.
But welcome, Cockles. We are happy to have you. We're going to talk about all sorts of stuff. Some of it's going to be about Legion. It may be a slightly higher percentage about Legion compared to your podcast, but we're gonna try to make it slightly less about Legion than what we usually talk about on Notorious
Yeah, no, that
Scoundrels.
makes sense. No, you're
Yeah.
good.
Okay, so before we really get into it, just want to give a couple quick Patreon shout outs. We appreciate y'all, and we like to do randomly selected shout outs every week. So this week it's Michael Predis, Lunar Knight, and Matthew Bell. We also have a new patron Tom Chalk. Thank you. Thank you for joining. This week on the blog, I posted a summary of all of the new info that came out in the last couple of weeks. There was a lot of it between Gamma. We did two interviews. Gray Squadron Gaming did an interview with the Wills, and a lot came from that. And so I wrote what I think is a pretty comprehensive look at the new stuff that came out because listening to 2-hour interviews is not in the cards for everybody, and understand that. So that summary is there.
I don't, to be clear. If
Uh,
you don't listen to 2 hour interviews, you better next
Yeah,
time.
Mike is here. Mike is here to be the enforcer, in case you haven't been able to tell Cockles.
Keeping receipts.
Yeah, he's keeping receipts. He's keeping track if there's
He's taking
non-patrons that are daring
he's
to listen
taking
to it.
notes. He's got it
Yeah,
up all
that's
there.
right. That's right. Um, and what else do we have? We have a Star Wars Limited article from Tower Number 9 that's about the new mechanics in the jump to light speed. We have actually today there was a new thing, a first, but a first of many is that we had our first guest article. That's from Simon Rakowski. I hope that it's just pronounced Simon. It's Szymon. He also goes by FostGen. He is coming to us from Germany, actually, in terms of writing a Spider Droid unit guide. That was one of the ones that we had actually never had on the site, and now we have one thanks to him. He happens to be a PhD in organic chemistry, which it just goes to show that like people who come to Legion, they come from all walks of life, and it's the fact that he's coming to us from Germany. He's writing an article for us. We're actually in the next few weeks we're going to be hosting an article initially in non-English. We're going to have an English translation aside of it, but we have a writer who is going to be writing from Spain in Spanish, and so I'm trying to sort of encapsulate the fact that this is it's a relatively small community compared to a lot of other gaming communities out there, but it is one that is worldwide. And I think that the more that we can celebrate that, the better. And that's part of why you're here, Cockles.
I do my bit for international relations now and again.
Yeah,
Not like
yeah.
when, not like Andy, who nearly started an English-French war a while ago. But there we go.
Yeah, well, then on our side, sometimes we have folks that are mixing up the whole situation with England, Scotland, and Wales in terms of not really realizing what the UK is.
I'm gonna be
So
honest, it's
there's plenty
kind
to
of
go around.
confusing. Like,
I could break it down for you, nice and simple.
yeah,
Go
hit
ahead,
me.
Cockles, do it.
Right. So the USA comprised of 50 states, yeah?
Hmm.
United Kingdom comprised of four mini nations, mini states, if you will:
Yeah.
England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland. That's pretty much it. If you're talking about England, talking about Scotland. You never don't confuse the two. An English person won't get insulted if you call them Scottish, but a Scottish person will 100% punch you in the face if you call them English. But no, that's the best way of looking at it. It's like you think
Okay.
United USA, United Kingdom, four states instead of 50. Best way. That's probably the simplest way of thinking about it.
That might be
But with
the easiest way to understand that I've ever heard anybody explain it.
but with a billion different accents, it's insane. You can literally go 20 miles in any direction, and the accent will change from "all right, sunshine" to "all right, sunshine," that sort of thing.
In the Olympics, do is it UK that competes or is it England
Great
competes and
Britain,
Scotland great, okay, so in the Olympics they make it about the
Team
island
GB,
then.
Team GB. So it's Team GB, but in the because we have also something that we have the Commonwealth Games,
Right.
which we started up in the 50s because we wanted to retain part of our empire somehow, and we just like that's Australia, New Zealand, Canada, all the African colonies and things everywhere we had there. But some don't compete if they choose not to, and that's when England, Northern Ireland,
Got it.
Scotland,
Got
and
it.
Wales break down and compete, that sort of thing.
And then also in like the Euro League, they split up like
Yes, in
for soccer
for
slash
for
football.
for 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 for, for, for football, soccer. Yes,
Yeah.
I had to. It's hard to say. I know. Yeah. So that breaks down, but that's in. Yeah, that breaks down it nice and simply as well. So that because there's inherently lots of history within particularly in Scotland, the Scottish leagues and stuff like that, and rugby as well. So any sport, individual like some of the team sports like the rugby and all this sorts of stuff, they'll all play individually as an individual nation. Then when it comes to the Olympics, it's all Team GB because we're not as good on our own.
That's fair. Yeah. Yeah. If you ever want to tap into like decades of angst, just ask an English person about the state of the English national soccer team, from a like World Cup perspective, especially.
Yeah,
Is
well, I
that
don't know. We're on the up a little bit now. Well, the England women team does quite well. They won the Euros last out, but yeah, no, you're not wrong. It's
yeah.
1966 or bust.
That's right.
It's almost we're getting close to a century since that date.
Oh my God. Yeah. You're sort of right. That's kind of horrifying, but we should probably move
Yeah,
on from that. So
might
yeah,
trigger me
check.
just in a minute. Only half,
I
only
just
trigger
need a
half of
second.
me is the Scottish half of me doesn't care because we've not been to the World Cup for ages anyway. So there we go.
Uh, all right. So I think that'll be where we start. So Cockles, have you had a chance to hear any of the interviews or like looked at any of the news that came out over the course of the past few weeks about Legion?
Snips and snaps. So I've obviously paid attention to the things that have been the upcoming releases and things, and I try to stay on top of what to look forward to and what might change. In I'll make a list, and then I'm thinking about World Team Championships and thinking, oh, hold on a second, there's going to be tweaks, no doubt, for what I think I will play. And so, is there any? Not that there's any point, but is there any real gain for me sitting there saying I'll take this, knowing that they're probably going to change? So I've sort of held off on sticking down on lists and just sort of I'm theory crafting, so I'm just paying attention to and looking forward to what's really going to come out. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the new like starter sets and boxes and things that are going to come out, and excited to see new sculpts and stuff coming out. So that's where my brain is at, and it's exciting because what's been going on maybe for the past maybe 4 to 6 months has been, I wouldn't call it stagnant, but it's a repeat of the same old a little bit, and it's harder, and it's hard to sort of go and fully get on board when you're knowing, well, all this is going to change in a couple of months, all this is going to change again. So it's just I'm paying attention to what's coming forward and looking forward to that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense, and I hadn't really thought of it that way before, but you're right. Is if it wasn't for the fact that like for those of us who are going to Worlds and Adepticon, like that's coming up, and so there's going to be this group of people to where they are very into figuring out like what is the current scene going to be.
Hmm.
But for anybody who, and then it's also going to be true if you're going to like some other tournament in late March or early April. But if you're not planning on going to a bigger Legion event until a month from when this podcast releases in a couple days, then yeah, like you would be like, I could make a list, but that's gonna just change. We don't know the date in April that they're gonna do all the updates, but we know that the 80-ish unit cards that have not been updated yet are gonna at the very least get the new format. They've said that most of those cards are actually not gonna change. That was one of the things that they had said on the podcast, that they said the vast majority of changes that were happening to unit cards, that stuff like all the vehicles that went to Armor 5 and whatever, and the fact that ARC Troopers had a huge change to their unit card, maybe a little bit too much, but
No, no,
all,
they're fine.
yeah, they're okay now. Is that the majority of that stuff has already happened? They said that Jin, Lando, and Callus are all getting big reworks to sort of bring them into the modern age. Like Jin's command cards basically don't even work anymore,
Yeah.
and the other two are fairly lackluster, and they have these flaw cards that they're getting rid of. They said that on one of the interviews also. Uh, but aside from that, I'm not sure. Like, if there's folks out there who are like thinking along the lines of, okay, for sure, the Mandalorian Resistance are going to have their card completely updated. They're going to be exactly as good as ARC Troopers. I would say maybe, but I feel like they're trying to diffuse expectations that everybody is going to have a shiny new car. Uh,
Mm.
I
but
definitely
as
feel
you,
like they walk that back a bit.
yeah,
Um,
I think,
which
yeah,
is
we
which
could
is
say that.
fine. I think I would rather have them be setting expectations that are in line with what's actually going to happen than not. So I think that's definitely good. But
Cockles,
I agree.
is there a unit that you're hoping gets changed drastically?
I don't know about drastic. You're right. You kind of picked out Mandalorians, which are you kind of want to see them in Rebels, but I think the issue that a lot of the let's say first few wave units have, or early units, how you want to say, pre AMG, something like that, is that the slot they take up is, if you're playing competitively, the slot they take up is occupied by something that is probably better. So if you want to take Mandalorian, so tough, and you want to be competitive, well, maybe you want to actually take all the Rebel players are generally taking the sleeper cells. So that's the issue that I think some of the units need, is that they need to be worked so that they have an actual argument, if you will, for someone saying, I'll take them over this for this reason, and I'm going to play this style because of this. And I think that's where a lot of the units need reworking, if that makes sense. The older units, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that does feel the most severe in Rebels right now.
I do think that Mandos and I think to some extent Wookiees come to mind in this vein, in that I think they just need another dude in the unit. I think that would
Oh,
go a long way to just, and since they're resculpting everything, or
but
man,
that is something they could do, right?
that is
Because
something that's reasonable. I think that that fixes, like, they just for like the same cost need another guy.
Yep.
I
Um,
That,
never thought of that.
but
That's
the
interesting.
but something that probably does need not just a unit, but a faction that has not really been. I mean, a few of the units have been touched, like your Vaders and your AT-STs and stuff like that. But the Empire in general, it needs a little look at, because I'm looking at some of their, again, special forces units, the IRG, the Imperial Special Forces, like your Inferno squads and stuff like that, and scouts and stuff. Unless you are teching for a certain style of list and things like that, you're not really looking and going, well, maybe I'll take the IRG because of the Guardian, so I can keep Vader alive. It's You need something more like the Death Troopers. They can die to a wet blanket, and it's like, oh, okay, you've got lots of Pierce. Well, I might as well just automatically take one unit off each time, that sort of thing. They need a little bit of. I think they just need a little bit of need a little bit of help. Not a huge bit of help, just a little bit of like the odd little tweak now and again, just to see
Yeah,
what's going to happen, if that makes sense.
yeah. I think the Empire issue is a variety one. Is that you will see Empire lists that do well, which, but usually, with some exceptions, that usually means that it's either Blizzard Force, which has Vader in it anyway, or Tempest Force, which is, again, not trying to make people mad, but it's just like a bunch of walkers. And then the non-battle force ones, it's like Vader Krennic, Vader Krennic, Vader Krennic, Vader Krennic, or just Vader.
Yep.
And then it's sort of just like, okay, this is just the Darth Vader faction. And
Yeah.
a lot of people are cool with the Darth Vader faction, but I think more people want a little more variety. And so I think they could use that. But I think that Empire could get there mostly with points adjustments. I think that Mike, and then, Callus will be reworked, stuff like that.
Yep.
Maybe if you maybe like make General Veers's commands a little bit more uh things that do things
I
rather
think
than giving
I,
two dodges to vehicles.
Yeah, his command cards are just kind of whatever. I do think that
Yeah.
Empire generically, my hope is that Empire gets the most changes from a structural unit, like unit card perspective, because I do think that the reason Empire is suffering is that like their whole shtick was like long range firepower, right?
Yeah.
That was kind of like all of their units, whether it be special forces or core or whatever, that's really their thing. And long range firepower without also like moving into aggress is not.
It's not how you win the game right now,
No, it's very different.
some might say.
Yeah, and like if your long range stuff like gets better, needs to kind of like get better as you close the distance, right?
Yeah.
Empire has always wanted to kind of like do the football kind of like blocking, running back out with his hand, like I'm here, you can't touch me sort of thing. And they can't really do that anymore. So
Nope. Well, Mike, I'm curious now that we have everything behind us, is like what was the part of the either the news that came out or the interviews that we did that has been sort of making you think the most, looking back on everything?
I think I am the most optimistic I've been in a very long time. And I think a lot of that is due to the fact that I felt like we were able to have constructive conversations with them, and like the answers they gave
Yeah,
were like, no, yeah, riot control is like not very good and we
there
messed
it
that
is.
up, and like we're willing to figure out how to fix that. And I think that's been part of the conversation, that like the kind of like large picture conversation that's been missing
Yeah,
from a lot of the like communications from them before, is like, hey, no, we're gonna actually fix stuff, and we're gonna talk about the things that need to be fixed. um I think before that they've like focused very much on like, these are the things we've changed and these are good, and like they've been very looking at like glass half full sort of things, but kind of just not talking about the rest of the stuff. And I think the fact that they're talking about the rest of the stuff and are acknowledging that there are things that need to be fixed, I'm all for it. I love it. I think it's awesome. I'm super optimistic because of that. It makes me feel a whole lot better on the whole.
yeah, I agree with you. Is that I think that whenever you get a chance to listen to the interviews, if it strikes your fancy, Cockles, is that the I think that the best part of them, is that it was just people talking about the game, and they came on, they were honest, like we were honest. So there weren't any walls, there weren't any like crappy feelings. And
Yeah.
they obviously knew that sometimes opinions on this podcast have been that the game has not been heading in the direction that we personally think that it should go into. Not that we are some kind of the guardians of truth or the
Yeah.
owners of what's good and what's not good, but like, so they knew that, and they still came on, they chatted with us. We were all reasonable, and I think that, yeah, from my perspective, I I think that the best part of all that was actually, yeah, something aside from the information that came across. It was just like, I hope, a reminder to people that the people that are making this game are in fact human beings, and that and it should have also shown that they're very invested in it and that they care about this. They're not like now that they're not on, is that I can talk about sort of this this concept that people had when Legion came over. Obviously, none of us know exactly what it was like when FFG suddenly had their games sort of uprooted and placed into the hands of AMG. Like it wasn't any of their decisions anyway, right? It would have been Asmodee's decision, potentially with the influence of Embracer Group at the time. Like who knows like what machinations were going on up there, but it happened. They did like they said on our cast that they did have to spend some time learning these games because they they did not they did not know the ins and outs of this game, and that it took them time to learn them. And I think that's part of the reason of why the releases did slow down at least a fair bit. There's other stuff that was going on, but all these, you would see these things about, well, AMG, they don't care about Legion. It was just placed in their lap and they're just looking to get rid of it. And I don't know. I don't think that you can watch those interviews and think that these guys were just sort of just like begrudgingly getting dragged along.
I don't think I've spoken with Schick last year at Adepticon,
Yeah.
which was awesome, and I spoke with Pagani not too long ago actually, separately in two separate occasions, and they both used the word custodian,
Mm.
because they knew that the game was not their original creation, but they know that they hold an IP that is precious to them as a company,
Yeah.
us as fans, and us as players. So I think the way I look at it, and I don't know, and I speak as just my own personal opinion, is like if three of us were to decide what we're going to do with Legion, if we were in charge, we'd have three different ideas,
Yeah. Yeah. Of
and
course.
we would each go, I like that bit, I don't like that bit, and I hate that bit, and I love that bit. It's no one's ever going to agree 100% on a direction of anything. I mean, you take the films, for example. When the prequels came out, everyone hated them. Now everyone loves them. It's just like, where are you going to go? People opinions change as time goes on, and one opinion does not make the whole basket.
Yeah, didn't you
It's
know Empire Strikes Back really sucks?
Mike, you just, I swear, you're, you're, so Coggles, Mike has certain opinions about Empire Strikes Back that is not shared by most in the community, I would say.
it's my
But
favorite one.
it's mine too. I know.
My favorite one.
Was,
Is that I don't know. I
oh
just put
no.
out there. Is that an age thing? Because I mean, I'm older than you, Mike, and but not by much, Mike. I'm just a bit, I assume.
I don't know how old do you think I am?
I mean,
We're getting some inside info
so
here in the
I
podcast.
set I celebrate the 22nd anniversary of my 18th birthday in 3 weeks' time. Mathematics.
Sorry, I'm doing
40,
okay.
and yeah.
No,
So
I think we're close enough in age that it
are we?
shouldn't
Okay,
matter.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so but that was the one that Empire Strikes Back was the one when I was a kid. If I wasn't feel very well, bang on the VHS. That's been watched. So it just has a special place in my heart for that sort of thing.
I would say I kind of had the opposite. It was like there was New Hope and Return of the Jedi, and that was where all the good stuff was, and Strikes Back was just like this way to bridge the gap between all of the actually cool stuff.
So, Mike, before we get too deep into this, is that you're providing an excellent preview of some Patreon content that we're going to make, which is that you, me, Jay Shalansky, and Evan Boris, it's going to be like the conclave. We're going to seal ourselves into a podcast, and when we come out, we're going to have a ranking of all the Star Wars, including the shows, the movies. It's going to be a definitive TFT ranking, and it'll be the official one. And
That's gonna be there's gonna be sparks of flying in that conversation.
that hey, are you from my neck of the woods, son?
Well, sometimes it comes on. It says too much cultural comes over this side of the Atlantic. It just absorbs. Yeah, there you go.
I was taken back home to Tennessee for a second there, son.
Well, y'all are mighty welcome.
You do that really well, Cockles. Probably better than either Mike or I could do with with the English.
I'm
But
not very good with accents in general. So.
Everyone's got a crap party trick, and unfortunately, that's mine. But the thing is, if you're from that area and I say it, they're going to go, that sounds nothing like it. But if you don't know the area, it sounds vaguely like it, so it works out.
today, in Notorious Scoundrels, will be ranking the Tudors.
Henry VIII, bit of a dick.
Bit of a dick was
Yep,
great.
there you go.
Was great for the dynasty.
Yeah,
A rank for Henry VIII. Now, Lady Jane Grey, she was only in for less than a fortnight. It's just D rank instantaneously.
yep. Mary Queen of Scots, not actually Scottish. There you go.
Well, that's
Anyway.
not confusing.
Yeah,
No,
we break from this
tangent.
podcast about the Tudor dynasty to get back to talking about Star Wars Legion. But yes, we are going to have a Star Wars ranking, and that's going to be our first Patreon exclusive video. I think that we're probably going to release it for everybody after a little bit of a delay so that people can have an idea of what goes on. But I'm very excited for that. And knowing that Mike's going to be there with his opinions about Empire Strikes Back, and God knows what other opinions are bouncing around in his brain, is that it's going to be a hell of a time.
I certainly have some controversial opinions about the second movie of trilogies, just in general.
Oh boy, I can't wait. I feel like it's going to be you and Jay button heads, and then Evan and I are going to be like sort of trying to figure out how we're going to make sense of this, but we will figure it out.
You got a referee for this conversation.
We may need one.
I think I'm the closest thing, and I'm just going to have to maintain my composure and not boot Mike from the chat room as soon as he starts talking about how incredible the dialogue is in whatever movie he's going to put above Empire Strikes Back. I don't even want to think about it right now. I can't.
I mean, there's just so many.
God, it's this guy, I tell you. So before, gentlemen, before we actually get into further topics, is that there is a reason why we're doing this, is that we're going to get into our minis and memoriam segment a little bit early. That this, for those who have not been listening along, is we've been doing a little bit of a funeral remembrance when units run out of stock at the Asmodee store, because that usually means they're about to be sold out a couple months after that pretty much everywhere. So we're just taking some time to remember the fallen, and we like to listen to this very sad, mournful piano music so that we can sort of put ourselves in the right zone. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. There's quite a few because we've been busy interviewing AMG about the future of their game, and that means that for the last 2 weeks we haven't been talking about how the past of their game is sort of slowly dying. Not necessarily a bad thing, but probably not the most polite thing when we had the Wills on. So got a little bit of backup. We'll deal with that now. We'll start with Rebel Specialists. They have passed on. So that's the medic, the droid, the commander, and what was the other one? The comms?
Comms tech.
Yeah, the comms. The thing that people put on in order to be able to use HQ uplink on veterans, and that's pretty much been the only reason. But they have passed on until they'll be born anew in Legion 2.6. So we will remember them fondly. Next, this is a big one: Tauntaun Riders. Cockles, what was your first memory of Tauntauns? Were you playing back when they were oppressive?
Yeah. So I've been in the game since it came out. My wife mistakenly thought so. I jumped over from X-Wing when X-Wing went X-Wing 2.0, and I jumped into it then.
Yeah.
And I've been in since day one, sorry. And I played Tauntauns with Sabine and Luke. But I did a different thing for a little while where I basically was like, made people go, "Oh, you've done that," and I put Overwatch on them because I would move them up.
Overwatch.
Yeah, so I'd move them up.
And
then I'll do a standby, and then I'll react to whatever someone does to me. But that was before the times where everyone had range bloody 4. So it was like, so everyone was just outside of range 3. They'd move in and we're like, right, okay, what am I going to do? I'll react. I'll either run away from the big scary unit, or I'll go forward to them and shoot them with the shoot after all this sorts of stuff. Not steady. What is it? Relentless.
Yeah.
Thank you. Remember keywords. So yeah, I did that and it was fun. No, it was generally I think it was triple tauntauns, Sabine, Luke, and then just boring core when people could just run boring core without the fear of them getting shot off the board in one shot. It was good
Those
fun.
were the days.
Those were the days. Yeah.
There's a whole host of reasons none of that works anymore.
yeah. So it's problematic now. But no, I love Tauntaun. Tauntaun was fun. And they were at the time when they came out. I think that they came out at the same time as Dewbacks, and it was the time when everyone was thinking when they all came out. I remember everyone thinking, "I wonder who wins in a Dewback versus Tauntaun fight." And it's definitely the Dewback, because the Tauntauns would go in and go bang, and then the Dewback would go, "Well, I've got red saves. I'm going to survive." And yeah, see you later, that sort of thing. It was good fun.
And now it's not even close in terms of which one of those sees more play.
They're one of the units that you want to see tweaked. They don't need massive rework. They just need a little bit.
I think
they
need
a little bit of
cheaper.
they need to be a bit cheaper. Yeah, they need to be a bit cheaper, and then they'll be fine because they perfectly match up with what the game does now, which is high mobility and speed.
Yeah. Speaking of tweaks, Padme Amidala.
No way.
Is now sold out at the Asmodee store. Finally, she was released quite a long time ago, and she's obviously been popular for forever. But they were still hanging on to copies until just a couple weeks ago. So, she's going to be in some future expansion. She's not one of the ones that we've seen. I think that Padme now is kind of it may be sort of the less said the better.
I think what they said was that she was paying for the sins of the past. If I recall the verbatim statement by Mr. William Pagani.
That's a fair statement, yeah.
So I think with her, we're just gonna see what comes to pass with any maybe changes to Secret Mission that we were sort of like egging the Wills onto when they were on our podcast. But to finish out the list is that we have a Mandalorian and the Mandalorian Super Commandos, and then a person cosplaying as a Mandalorian in Boba Fett Daimyo. And
that's a relatively recent release.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. He's not old at all. Well, he's an old man, but he's not old.
Like, I would be surprised if they resculpted those.
I think that they're going to be the same sculpts. They just need to put them in a new package, and then they'll be on their way. I bet what's going to happen actually with Mercenaries is that I bet just because they actually literally did this in Shatterpoint is that they're going to have a mercenary. Like there's kind of a bounty hunter box, right? And then they can put Boba, Bosk, Cad Bane, and then maybe even or I guess they could put IG in there too, and then there you go. It's just like one box, rather than doing all the individual ones. That would be a pretty good value. And then people will get mad that all these guys can go into different armies, and then the very fun conversation about the state of Shadow Collective would come up, and everything would go to hell again. But
there's no conversation about the state of Shadow Collective. It's not a faction. It's fine.
It's not a faction. It's not a faction at all. It's a sub-faction.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not even a
somebody
sub-faction.
that agrees with me. Thank God.
It's a sub-faction. It's a sub-faction with stuff that can go in other armies. So it's not its own dedicated thing. Because can you put clone troopers in a rebel? No. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah.
Of course, Mandalorian Super Commandos you can't put into other armies, so
true.
It sort of falls apart with that one.
Yeah.
But gentlemen, there's one more. There's a surprise member of the Funeral March here, and you guys probably aren't going to be able to guess, but it is ARF Troopers.
I'm sorry, what?
ARF Troopers are listed as sold out on the Asmodee store, where they had been up for pre-order up until I think about a week ago. We're recording on March 10th, 2025. They are now listed as sold out. Cockles, what is your commentary, sir?
So first off, when were they announced as sold out? Because as we record, there's a cargo tanker in the North Sea that's been hit by another boat. So I wonder if maybe they've all gone down there. So I was like, is that? But no, obviously not. But I mean, surprised because
because it's not out yet,
what's the
for one
point?
thing.
Why is there a delay? What they're meant? What's the need of the
So
delay?
we're going to get into that. So this is actually minis in memoriam as breaking news.
Dun,
Even
dun, dun.
though we're short on real information. To be fair, we know that an email was sent out from Asmodee to uh, at the very least stores that basically said that for the ARF Troopers and for Marvel Crisis, there's a Gladiator character expansion that's about to come out basically in the same time, and that those have not yet arrived to the United States Asmodee warehouse yet.
Oh,
And
so we're screwed over here then.
well, and so yeah, this is where like that is the end of actual objective information that we have. So what follows is an educated guess in terms of what's happening is that there is currently a customs backlog in the United States that we are not the podcast to get into the reasons of why that is happening, but
It's getting worse though.
there is currently a customs backlog, and that that would include big shipments that are coming across in cargo containers from China, and because of that, that is why at least Mike and I we were doing some chatting yesterday about what do we think is going on. Is that's what we think is going on is that the ARF Troopers and the Gladiator are like held up at customs, and because of the fact that Asmodee doesn't have their stock yet, is that they're not taking pre-orders for it because I think that they are understandably concerned about potentially having orders that they couldn't fill, or maybe that the boxes that were going to go to their warehouse is that they instead want to get those to game stores instead if they have to prioritize things because the warehouse is sort of a backup plan for them in terms of actually selling stuff. So again, all of that after the fact that this email was sent out is pure conjecture. But the interesting part about it is that it does create a situation to where we're not positive if ARF Troopers are going to be gettable before Worlds.
I actually I think it's fairly safe to say actually that we are not going to get them before Worlds based on that email.
Again, we're not reporting that. This is conjecture, but
Speculation
it
is
is
is rife.
speculation, but there is informed speculation, right? And
Yeah.
so
I mean, it's clear that this is a distribution issue, right? It's regardless of what the issue actually is,
yeah,
it's too close to the release date to be a production issue.
mm, yeah,
Um,
of course.
it's definitely
These were made
distribution.
months ago.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's close enough to the release date, which I think is this. It was supposed to be the
I thought-
14th, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's 14th. So yeah, so it's
yeah, it was gonna be this
literally
Friday.
this Friday.
And I think we got this news like somewhere towards the tail end of last week or over the weekend, if I recall correctly. So
Yeah,
like the distribution issue is within a week of when it should have like arrived in the mail to stores, you know. So this
yeah,
is a surprise for everybody, which suggests to me that something, you know, that's even like should be already here off the boat if it was supposed to be delivered by the 14th,
yeah.
like right now, right? So
See
I'd be
that.
interested to
Go ahead,
know.
Cockles.
I'm sorry, I'm just speculating in my head because does that mean that because Asmodee are French,
Mm.
right? Does that mean that maybe just in America it's delayed, or is it coming over to
So
Europe? Because obviously the
possible.
same boat
that's what I
isn't
was
coming to you
wondering,
and to us.
and
But
I was trying to like do my best at like cosplaying as a reporter before this, which is to say that I tried to dig into whether Asmodee actually sells directly in Europe. And from what I could tell is that it seems like they don't. This could be a whole really boring podcast about the different nature of Asmodee in Europe compared to in America. But in America, they are a producer but not a distributor. But in Europe, they are a producer and also a distributor. Is sort of, in fact, I think they make more money from distribution in Europe than they do from even the production that they do. But I'm not sure if they like have an Asmodee store in Europe in the same way that they have one in America where they sell stuff directly out of a warehouse. Um, and so I tried to like find one and I couldn't find one because, like you said, Cockles, I think that it's possible that because this is a United States customs issue, is that it might affect Canada. I don't know really about like how those two things interact, but that I think it could be possible that y'all will get ARF Troopers before we do.
I am looking on the Asmodee website because, so obviously Asmodee cookies and stuff on the internet, it goes straight over to the UK. So
Right.
so I'm looking at asmodee.co.uk to see what I can see. I
Live
can't see
reporting
it.
here.
Yeah, like I can't see ARFs straight off the bat, but that's not to say they're not there. That's just maybe just got the settings shown as what's in stock. But I'm just seeing what I can see, seeing what I can see, boys. Um, can't see him, but I just need to do some more digging. So
But
yeah.
but that's if it doesn't happen, and there's obviously some folks coming to Adepticon who are coming from other countries than America, and I always want that number to be even higher year by year when we can. But it is possible that they're going to be bringing uh, probably not as many ARF troopers actually as a unit, but that they may be bringing more Jedi Guardians in ARC troopers, and Americans may not even actually have access to those. So it does. If that happens, if it's like as you say, Mike, and I have no reason to believe to doubt you on that. I feel like if you can pick between things settling out quickly versus things taking weeks to settle out when it comes to American customs and shipping things, is that you should go for the latter option pretty much every time.
Yeah.
Is that the chaos is probably going to reign for a couple weeks and it's probably going to reign beyond Adepticon, and that sucks. I do want folks to be careful. I'm just like going to put this on the front end is that, again, we're talking about a customs issue. We're not talking about an issue of when did you order the stuff, when did you make the stuff. Is that this is, from everything we know, this is an issue that is completely outside of the control of Asmodee and AMG and everybody. So please do not take this as an opportunity to just like start trolly comments out there. That's just like a me pleading to the audience and our audience like tends not to do stuff like that, but when you spread it out into like the Discord and Reddit, is that people like opinions will sprout up and people say, oh, it's just this is another AMG fiasco or whatever. It's like, no,
No,
this
something
has to
more.
do with international shipping, and it is happening to more than just them. So I just wanted to just like put that out there. All that being said, it it would just suck if people wanted to take, especially like if they want to take ARF Troopers, they want to take ARF Troopers with Jedi Guardians to Adepticon. Now they can't.
I mean,
It sucks.
really,
There's
this
worse things,
is
but
just the international shipping situation doing them a favor by saving them a mistake.
Coggles, what's the conventional wisdom on ARF Troopers over in the
So
UK?
you're asking me for conventional wisdom, which is not something I specialize in.
What's the Cockles wisdom on ARF Troopers over in
Oh,
the
they're
UK?
weird. They're weird because you've got like a long range unit that has got. Oh look, we'll give you a long range unit, which actually on the face of it, not too bad. But oh, here's the
Sure.
extra personnel thing you can put in, and it's a melee specialist. It's like what? That makes no sense. So that's a weird one. But I have tried them. I tried them with a game with Andy
Yeah.
in his sort of warm up stuff that he's been doing, and I have a lukewarm reception to them. I think they have a place, but don't have a place in what I'm doing, if that makes sense. Um, if you're,
It might not just be you.
yeah, I think the
I'm
more
not
and more
sure.
that it's going to be the same with other like when with other units and all this sorts of stuff. It's going to be a case of they'll find a place for people who are cleverer than me that write lists will find a place for them eventually, and it'll be a case of, well, someone's bringing this, I'll bring ARF Troopers to counter the threat of this because I can keep them away from nasty range 2 stuff or something like that. So the unit, what I think is quite cool with them is taking full ARFs, extra 2 men, and Echo, the sniper.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Echo. Yeah, it's taking Echo. I always get Echo and Fives confused because it's just stupid. But take them, so you got shed load. You got two red. It'll be two red, six black, lethal, pierce one, all this sorts of stuff. So
Critical one, yeah.
you critical one and pierce another.
Yeah.
So I think that's not a bad dice pool, but that's an expensive pool if that makes sense.
Super expensive. I tried
Mike, you've
it.
tried it, right?
I have. I've tried it a couple times. I've been proxying ARFs and Jedi Guardians a lot over the last 2 weeks, and that unit is like it should be a scary dice pool, but it really needs like access to like more than two aim tokens to like turn
Mm.
everything on. And it's just like, don't get me wrong, six Pierce one, which is like about the average with like two aim tokens, is like pretty good
Yeah.
for a unit that should be like around like 120 points probably and not 150 plus, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
um, we're talking about a unit that is gonna maybe do roughly the same amount of damage as Bad Batch a lot of the time, but like doesn't have any of the cool abilities and has a lot less health and doesn't have steady, I don't know. And it's about the same cost. Uh, I think it's really cool. I love the idea of putting Echo in ARFs, but I think ARFs are just too expensive
They
globally. Echo Squad and the other squads.
they are a touch expensive. I think the what I do like though is the idea that you can buy as a consumer, you can buy these expansions and there will be something that's interchangeable with each. I.e., you can stick the Guardian in the arcs, or you can stick. Was there a room you can stick the arcs in the Guardian in regular troopers? No, you can't. Can you? No.
It's just
No,
No,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Right
it's
now,
it's just
ARC, ARF.
well,
yeah,
it's special forces to
Special,
be
yeah,
clear.
clone trooper special forces. So
Yeah.
yeah.
unfortunately, can't put them in a Wookiee unit either.
No, that'd be fun.
I think
Oh, that
it's
would be
only
fun.
because there's no squad upgrade though. I don't think it actually
Oh, okay. Oh,
specifies
yeah.
clone special
You're
forces.
right. It's Republic Special Forces, but
Yeah,
yeah, because clones don't have the squad leader, is that they de facto can't put them in.
yeah.
But I
So
mean,
yeah,
Wookiee cards have not been updated. I would just like to call out.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I would love that. That would be amazing.
is that the mental super squad that they alluded to potentially in the
yeah,
chat?
it does say special forces clone trooper only. So Wookiees are off the table.
Ah, okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that mental super squad. The verdict's still out on what that is. I think it's between mud
Mud
troopers and
troopers.
gungans.
It was like same like I think it's like roughly the same time that they were doing like um
Range
range
troopers.
troopers and
Yeah, yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Like the fact that we got range troopers and like not a ton else from Solo, like I think mud troopers plus range troopers would have just made so much sense to do at the same time.
I could see that. Yeah. I think the more I hear you, the more I hear you doing the reasoning. I guess my only thing would be is that then that would be what like a fifth core choice for Empire.
Yeah, I mean,
That seems
they're all
crazy.
bad, so it doesn't really
We
matter.
still have one in Republic, damn it.
We have two, to be clear. We have two choices.
Are you referring to Pike Troopers?
Yeah, man.
Oh yeah, great. Sorry, sorry, I'm unenthused about the current state of Pike foot soldiers in Republic armies. Now that they changed Port Padme around. Yeah. So anyway, long story short, I hope that Mike's wrong and that everybody's going to get ARFs like only 5 days late, and everybody will be able to take them into Adepticon if they wanted to. Take your Jedi Guardians, but I am a little bit concerned about the shipping delays causing issues, but we will see what happens. Now, related to that, Mike, is that you actually went to a tournament recently where you played something from that expansion, which is the Jedi Guardian, but you played it in the unit that most of us like sort of instantly looked over to. Is that there's been a few jokes about how the ARF Trooper expansion is actually just an ARC Trooper expansion that comes with, for right now, 7 extra models that you're not going to be putting on the table. But you actually try them out, like you went to a tournament that let you proxy them,
Yep.
and you did quite well. So I'm wondering if you can talk to us about what it was like so that we can have some firsthand reporting.
It was weird. I think I would describe it as weird. Um, Arcs um have always been very good in melee. This obviously like supercharges them a bit. Um, but it didn't feel like they hit harder.
Hmm.
I did not have that like I don't know. When arcs charge in there, right now, they kind of already kill whatever they touch for the most part. This is just basically this upgrade felt like it was like arcs plus one damage, is kind of how it felt.
Did you charge
Uh,
any vehicles out of curiosity?
I did not get the opportunity to, though there was some choices I could have made differently to do so.
That's my
Um,
dream is to charge the back of a bus with impact grenades and do a an impact eight Pierce one
well,
uh, instant kill.
so that's fair.
Yeah.
I think I see a lot of people like looking at this and being like, "Oh, this is gonna make ARC Troopers like good against armor," and I'm over here like asking myself the question like, aren't ARC Troopers already very good against armor?
They are because
Like
they have 10 highly modifiable dice.
Yeah, I just like I don't think that this upgrade like
Yes.
changes that, and in fact, it makes them significantly less good against armor at range, which is relevant.
Yeah, totally.
Because they're shrinking the die pool from 10 to 8 at range 2, and when you're trying to get over armor 5, the less dice you have to modify, like the harder that is, right? So, I don't know. I made a lot of I probably would have shot vehicles at that tournament had I actually had a dude in the squad that could shoot.
Hmm.
But I didn't. That did not feel great. I will say that. That's why I'm like wishy-washy on this because um I would say that this guy is like a side grade at best. I
Yeah.
definitely think he does the melee thing better, obviously. I don't think that they actually need help with that. Um, and he worsens them in other ways that look, I mean, I think this upgrade's like fine. Like it's like you can take it in any competitive list and like feel good about it. I just don't. I'm not sure it's better than the commander or the captain.
It's a consideration that is, it feels kind of roughly equal, honestly, to the other two options. I guess, like not counting fives for squad leader in for ARC troopers, is that the captain gives you, like, if you have really good order control and if you're getting orders punted over, you're going to get a dodge out of it, and then you also you get to keep the 10 dice at range two, and then the commander, to me, it still feels like the premium option, which is the way it should be, given that it is 8 points more than the other two, because it gives you the flexibility. Like, you're going to hit hard at range two and in melee, and super importantly, it's carrying the search token around.
Yeah.
Mike, I don't know, how many times did you look at the dice results and you saw a surge result and you were like,
I didn't have that problem because I ran Obi-Wan Kenobi with aggressive tactics.
okay, yeah. So I so like, yeah, that makes sense
Like
because
I think I was on 9 to 10 surge tokens at the start of every turn, and the arcs had some natively.
okay, yeah. So that's definitely a way to mitigate that issue.
Yeah.
But I do you think it's fair to say that you probably shouldn't be running Jedi Guardians if you don't have aggressive tactics in your list?
I would might go as far to say that you should be running arcs if you don't have aggressive tactics in your list.
Oh wow,
If you
strong
don't,
opinion.
yes.
I
I
see where you're coming from.
yeah, that's just kind of I don't know. I mean, you either are taking clone commanders or you're taking aggressive tactics. Like you need one of those two options.
Yeah.
In my personal opinion. Otherwise, they're just like crappy Imperials or expensive Imperials. I guess is what I should say.
I think that they're okay when they're naked units if you don't have a lot of surges going around, because they can still be kind of efficient when they're doing that. But you at least want some surges, and even if they're naked units, you're hopefully running like a whole bunch of clone infantry so that they could feed them over. But yeah, Cockles, have you had any tournaments over there where the Guardians or ARF Troopers have been made legal as proxies at
We,
all?
I don't think so. I don't think anyone. I think it's we. I played casual games to proxy them, and I will be on.
Yeah.
I will be this coming Thursday, and I did
Okay.
against Andy. My take on it is that if I think it depends how you're using each of your units. If you're being super aggressive with your arcs, a Jedi Guardian is definitely something that can put the heebie-jeebies at someone,
Hmm.
and they're gonna and maybe a less experienced player will be like, "Oh, I don't like the idea of a big melee unit coming at me," that sort of thing, and they'll
Yeah,
divert their fire away from your Bad Batch, your Jedi,
sure.
or whatever else that you have in your list. Um, I think that they are, and I found this when I played Andy. So Andy and I, a couple of weeks ago, I played two games. He absolutely brutalized me in one, and I beat him on points in the other. And the game that I beat him at is the game that they sort of held their own a little bit, and that they were quite hard for him to shift, even though he was running stuff with poison and things like that.
Yeah,
And they posed enough of a threat that some of his hitters had to deal with them rather than some of the stuff that actually did have more of a threat, if that makes sense. So I'm trying to remember what the list it was. I ran triple ATRTs. I think it was either double or triple arcs with the Guardians in. I think it was double. Then fives with the shotgun and an extra man. Yeah, five shotgun, extra man, and then other toys and stuff like that.
yeah,
I think they are a good distraction. If someone is shooting at my arcs and I've put them in a position where they're threatened by them and they're picking them over one of my more valuable units, then for me, I'm sitting there thinking, that's fine. I've got red saves over there, probably a couple of surge tokens, maybe one, enough to maybe their own one and a share. Then for me, that's fine. I can deal with that because it gives time for other things to run up, put a bit more of a punch on. So I think they're a good distraction, and I liken my list crafting theory has sort of changed a little bit. I've spoken to a bloke called Jeff Podfrey who was top 8 last year at Adepticon. He at least made day 2 anyway. Or
hmm
I'm pretty sure
he
it's
went
top 8. The name
he went, yeah, I
rings a
think
bell.
he went deep into the tournament, and he's a very good player. And the way his brain works is that he thinks of list building in sort of. He was doing this theory with his rebel list recently, in that the range bands have different. Every time someone comes into range 3, I've got this to deal with that. Every time someone comes into range 2, I've got this that can do that, and each time it changes. So I've been trying to adapt my list creation and my list theory with that, in
Hmm.
thinking, what can I provide as a threat that is this? And everyone's play style is different. I try to run a bit tricky and a bit tricksy, and have things that have like a bit more of multiple threat to make people go, right, I can't deal with that alone, and I can't deal with that alone. I need to focus, and it's going to cause problems. So I try, and that's how I try. Not saying it works all the time. So I think arcs with Guardians have a place for a style, not necessarily a place for all players, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Right.
I think you're right. And again, I think that just sort of presents to the idea that they actually were they came out at what feels like an appropriate price point,
Mm.
which
I don't think
is
that's. I don't. 22 points is fine. I wish they had. I wish they had a rate. I don't know. Just chuck one of their red dice as a range because you like saber throw. That would be
Yeah,
fun.
like just like
yeah, that would
a
have been
or
cool.
like a
Bam, bam. That'd be cool.
force throw, something like Yoda's got going on, right?
Yeah,
Where
and even if it's a single dice doing it, because they're just a generic Jedi,
yep.
that would just be something that would make them. I mean, I don't know, that would make them unplayable or anything like that. I just think that would make them something a bit more
Yeah,
interesting.
a range sidearm of just like yeah, one red dice with
Right.
impact one, pierce one.
Yeah.
That although like you could also say that nobody makes range one shots anymore if the unit has charge, because if you could make a range one
Correct.
shot, then you could just move
Generally,
into
yeah.
them and attack them. So I guess you'd have to make a range two. But then
Two black or one black with like
yeah,
scatter or something would be
something
interesting.
weaker. But yeah,
Just
along the
aggressive or
lines
whatever. Yeah.
of the Inquisitors, they have like sort of a not that great ranged attack, but it does exist.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
so
will
yeah.
I will say I think the thing that I took out of that tournament as maybe the most optimistic thing about the
Hmm.
Jedi Guardian is that man, did I sure come out of that feeling like that is how I want my Republic armies to look on the table.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Is like I've got like 4 or 5 Jedi all over the board. Like I have a bunch of lightsabers. Since we've been talking about movies that are the second in their trilogies, it was very Attack of the Clones,
Yeah,
when
yeah.
they're they're just like running out there, there's that sweet scene at the end of the movie where like Mace is like leading the clones like across the field, and it felt like that, and that just felt really cool. From just like how this looks on the table. In fairness, I was proxying my Jedi Guardians with Dooku, Anakin, and Yoda, in addition to me playing Kenobi. So like I had kind of like four like super main characters on the table. But like I that to me was the biggest upside, in that I was like, this feels like an army that I thematically want to be playing, not just because it's powerful, but because it actually looks cool. And I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of like the squad leader upgrades or the personnel upgrades, like you don't really get a lot of that in this game, in that like you're taking this miniature because it's like it looks cool on the table. You get that when you're taking like commanders and operatives. And I actually went as far as I ordered a bunch of 3D prints that are here, and I've um primed them. I got Bastila Shan, I got
Oh,
Yaddle, and I got Kiadi Mundi as my Jedi Guardian leaders, because I don't want to buy like 3, 4 boxes of ARF Troopers. One is good enough for me.
Mundi with his glorious giant forehead. He's great.
Yeah.
he's the inspiration for the way my clone army. I'm not by no means a great painter, but the scene when he's on, is it Cato Nemoidia, when it's all a bit snowy and all that sort of thing.
Oh, when he's about to
He's
die, you mean?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah, yeah.
inspiration for what my clone army looks like, because they're all a bit snowy.
Oh yeah, cool.
Love it.
Yeah. That's a really good point, Mike, is that it's true, is that for the first time we can truly have a Attack of the Clones ish style army to where Jedi are leading clones across the battlefield. Uh, I think it's something that the community has wanted for a really long time. I think that my hope and assumption is that because they use the term Jedi Guardian instead of just saying like Jedi squad leader, it gives me some hope that we're going to see more examples of this in the future. It's like you just talked about Bastila Shan, is that if anybody out there had played Knights of the Old Republic, is that they make this, yeah, big thumbs up from Cockles. I knew I
Show my
liked you
age.
for some reason, Cockles. That's, like we said earlier, I'm pretty sure it's like all of our ages here, so it's fine. But a distinction that they make in those games is the concept of the difference between a guardian, a sentinel, and a consular, right? Is that it was sort of like the sentinel is in between the saber user and the force user, and the consular is like the exclusive force user, sort of like the
The
Yoda type.
mage.
Yeah, they're the mages basically. And and so like I'm hoping that they're going to be taking a page from that book, and that eventually via other expansions is that we'll get an expansion that has a Jedi Sentinel upgrade. We'll get an expansion that has a Jedi Consular upgrade, and that will give an opportunity to have more minis available, so that it's not just going to be a Zabrak with either a single or double bladed lightsaber. Like, don't get me wrong, that's cool. But if you wanted to spam it, then it does get to the point where you would rather like have a little bit of variety in terms of what your Jedi look like.
Yaddle,
So,
Uh,
man.
and then and
so
then
I've got a way you can play
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Just a little suggestion for any people. I was thinking this, and I was like, right, what can you do? You take the heads off of your
Rebel
sleeper
Troopers.
cells, rebel sleeper
Yeah,
cells, because
that's
you've
right.
got complete different. I know there are lots of variation. Take them, switch them, put them on there.
That's a
So
Or
good idea.
right,
yeah,
that's a really good idea, and I think I'm pretty sure that they'll be able to, when the new Rebel Troopers sculpts come out, is that those are going to have multiple alien heads on them.
yep,
So
yep, yep.
you would be able to do that too. Like that's a really good idea, and that way you're also going to be staying within the general rules that AMG wants to keep, which is that most of the mini is still the
Yeah,
original
yeah.
plastic, but if you're just
What's that?
replacing the head,
Be on Stream
uh,
of Worlds. Sorry, you can't use that.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, that way you won't get in trouble, right? Is that if you're just switching a Zabrak head for a Twi'lek head, then I guess it would be cool if hopefully maybe the Jedi Sentinel will be some kind of a female character, and then that way there'll be like more variety in terms of that. But yeah, like that's my hope, is that there will be Galactic Marines will come out, and they're going to come with a Jedi Sentinel or whatever. And then when you put when you put everything in that context, you can come up with a situation to where putting it in an ARF trooper will make more sense because it'll, instead of having a charge weapon, it'll have like a tappable deflectability or something, like some kind of a range bonus. Or if it's a Jedi consular, it could be like a battle meditation type thing to where they're giving out free tokens. Um, something to give us a reason to put a lightsaber user into a range 4 unit. That's what I'm hoping for in the future because I don't really think we have it right now.
I think, well, I hope for generic Jedi commanders that you can then say, "This is my Jedi commander
Yeah,
who
that too.
specializes." Yeah, so who specializes in this, or this, and
Yeah.
then that's why they sort of say like that's when you can get them to pick their masteries and all this sorts of stuff.
That would be
But
really cool.
by picking one mastery though, you lose out on a, say you pick, I don't know, let's say you
Oh
pick,
yeah, interesting.
say if you pick Makeshi, you then can't do something else. But if you pick Jakai, you can do this or this sorts of stuff. I don't know, it just gives you a little bit of a right. If I want to play my Jedi in a certain way, I have to play this way, but I lose a. Instead of it being 5 health, it's 4 health. If I'm choosing a consularly type support character, kind of like the Merc, what are they called, capos, and the
Sure.
stuff when they do the aid and all that sort of stuff. So maybe
Yeah,
just
yeah.
something like that would be pretty cool.
If
It could
you
basically be like a hard point for a Jedi. It's just to like flip around what it does.
or
Yeah.
you could be like, okay, you take this Jedi, right, that has these abilities. You have to take this apprentice.
Yep.
Certain type of your apprentice inherits the abilities from the parent card.
Or yeah, like yeah, if you yeah, you could do that with like the mastery in sort of a because I think that they started that idea with Dooku and Asajj, right? Is that they had to get sort of clever in the way that they did it in order to not have like too many keywords on Asajj's card because it was like overflowing. So they did it with a command card instead. At
Yeah, it's
least I'm
like an
pretty sure
essay,
that's why they
but
did
that
it.
big.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I anyway, the world's their oyster. We and now we know that AMG is listening. So I am sure that they've thought of many ideas already. But so to wrap everything up about that tournament is that uh, were there any interesting opposing lists that you ran into? You did go 3-0 at this.
I played against Tempest Force round one.
Hmm.
So it wasn't that I had a lack of armored targets.
Right, right.
Um, and I wouldn't, there wasn't anything notable there really. I played against a Rebel Sleeper Soloist round two and double Saber Tank Anakin round three.
Oh, sick.
I
Um,
love that man.
yes,
All I
it was
need
That's a
credentials.
actually
Cockles list right
it,
there.
it was
That's a
much better than
shenanigan list for me.
yeah, it was much better than I anticipated it being. I definitely like lost a arc unit or two kind of wholesale.
Yeah.
But it was like it was a weird situation where I ended up with advanced intel. And like I got to go like three times after him on turn one.
Mm.
So I was able to like shove all of the arcs like in the middle, like literal middle of the board on bunker assault with Kenobi in Guardian range, with
Yeah.
him like not able to do anything about that. And so
Oh,
I just like I had like three arcs that could charge him turn two. Um, so that was a thing that happened. I will say that the Guardians, I think one of the I think mechanical things that they do have an advantage over this regular arcs is that once they're in melee and they have attritioned, they feel a little bit more like
They're
Wookiees.
hanging in there more.
They
Yeah.
feel as far as they're like, this isn't just four black dice, this is two black, two red, pierce one. It's kind of like how you feel when there's like only one or two Wookiee models left. They're still like piercing your Republic core to death, right?
Especially if you have a
Um,
battle shield, is that like you're piercing, you have two extra red dice. Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I will say that they do have that going for them.
Yeah.
I'm just like, for me, it's kind of like, does that balance out the range disadvantage and the lack of answer to armor? I don't know.
Cool.
Up in the air.
Well, I mean, we're gonna have plenty of time to sort it out. Of course, once the Adepticon is over, is that shortly after that we're gonna have the points update, and then like Lord only knows what the meta is gonna look like then. So
Yeah.
We'll have a whole other bunch of stuff to talk about then. But yeah, looking forward to see how that will evolve. And so we're gonna switch over to just like talking about happy stuff. The fact that, Cockles, you're here talking to us. Where you mentioned the World Team Championships that are coming up in Sheffield, UK in May. I am going to be going there. I'm going to be in charge of USA Team Blue because Izzy's not able to make it this year,
Oh
which
no.
means that I am the backup plan, and I assure you that that is the reason why I'm the captain, is that I'm the backup plan. But we're bringing a nice contingent of variety of American players. We have 3 teams that we're bringing over, and it's they represent like a fair sampling from across the country, east to west. So I like the way that it turned out in terms of us like getting folks from a variety of parts of our big old country over here. Cockles, what role are you going to be playing
So
in the WTC?
so first off, unpopular opinion, particularly amongst my fellow Mooners, my podcast, I feel the United States should be able to take one more team just because of the sheer size of the country and player pool. That is an unpopular opinion because it makes it unbalanced because everyone else has 3, that sort of thing. But that's
Oh,
just my opinion.
It
Because
also puts us in the crosshairs as
it does a little bit, but no,
those Americans
the,
over there.
the reason I say that is because of the player pool and the size of the country. Basically, if the United States is effectively the same size of Europe, but effectively Europe is able to take effectively 3 times 15 exact that teams.
Yeah,
That's my logic. It's not, but the rules are 3 teams. But it would be nice to see more international players in general. That's just my jam. What am I doing? I'm playing. I get to
yeah.
play. Last year I was streaming. This year I'm playing. Um, Last year in Spain was awesome. Obviously myself and Tom were streaming, which was great fun. We got to commentate on lots of games, and it was awesome. Meeting lots of players because we'd get them over literally like, come over, where are you from Italy, awesome, Germany,
Yeah.
cool, all this sort of thing. Yourself as well, all that sort of thing. So but this time I get to play, I'll be in the team South for England,
Team
which
what?
South, so we divide up to, so I North South, and then what I call team Tryhard, which will be our top team.
Got it. Got it.
You can probably guess who's in it. I'm not gonna, you can take a guess,
They
but
don't need, none of them need any more attention.
no,
That I can guarantee.
no, they do not. But I say that, if I say that affectionately, but
Yeah, me too.
so that, but my team is, funny enough, captained by a bloke who primarily lives in the Netherlands. But he's definitely English. Couldn't really get more of an English name other than Kevin Jones. So yeah, that'll do. But Kev's captain. I will be running the Republic for my team, and or potentially Shadow Collective, depending on if the rules changes are really really kind to them and do some clever things.
I wouldn't
Maybe I'll
count
take.
on it.
Well, I just sort of said to Kev, "Hey, if something cool happens with them, I'll do that instead." And then I won't run. Then there'll be no Republic in our faction. So that's so I'm playing and I'm cool. I've
Yeah.
got ideas. My initial idea, and it is something like triple ATRT, Bad Batch, Rex kind of stuff. Who knows what else?
I like it so far.
I dig it.
I mean, that's so far. That's where I'm at. The other idea was obviously running double arcs with the Jedi Guardians. That might not happen now. Cheers.
Yo,
Shipping
yo,
and
no, no,
stuff.
no, no, no. You got a good idea going. Take triple ATRT flamers, build a wall, and then just run the Guardians through them.
So
Oh yeah.
I was
There
going
you
to
go.
take two cannons, 1 flamer, and they were going to move up obviously. And the flamer was there because there'll be some nutter who takes big squads of Ewoks or anything in general, B1s, all this sorts of stuff. So that'll be that. That's to that. And laser cannons, obviously, I can then drop up slowly,
Yeah.
push through. The fun part of the concept was that the one of the squads was 5s and a shotgun. 5s with his direct can then go, oh look, you over there, Bad Batch, have an order, and it wouldn't, and I'd basically be able to get some really good order control on that. I
It's
think
one
there
of
was a
the few
clone.
ways that Bad Batch can actually have an advantage of being a clone trooper because they don't get any of the other Like it's like
Yeah,
that, and it can get an order from Rex's 3-pip, and then
yeah,
like you're starting to run low on the advantages of them being a clone trooper. But
correct.
five is definitely
Obviously,
one of them.
the other one is I think also there's a generic clone commander in there just for some. It was because it's
Mhm.
cheap and it's
He feeds fives.
exactly he feeds
Yeah,
fives. He goes points, go you, and then it goes over again.
yeah,
Generic tokens as well. Bolster's not exactly a bad thing to be doing. You just sit back
yeah.
and go, "Oh, have a bolster, have a bolster." So there's a concept there. It's going to be played. It'll either work or it won't. And I've just got to play test it. And I'm funny enough actually going to try it out on Thursday against a buddy who's come over who, fun enough, is playing for the Northern team. So
There you
yeah,
go.
that's fun. I'm really, 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 really looking forward to it. We're going to Sheffield will be awesome. I've not actually been to Sheffield for a very, very long time. For those of you who don't know, home of Sean Bean. That's it. Boromir from Sheffield. Boromir is from Sheffield. Um, it's going to be good fun. Sorry, there's a motorbike going out something else. It's going to be good fun. The thing I love the most about it, and I am looking forward to the most, is seeing all the different players from all the different countries. Like Evan, obviously we bumped into each other last year, having
Yeah, we
exchanged
had breakfast together
messages.
a couple
Yeah, we had
times, and
breakfast and
it
brunch
was
and all that
lovely.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
and it was nice to talk, just nice to talk shop and other stuff as well. But
yeah.
face to face, we've obviously exchanged messages on the old Discord and things like that. But like the forming a fun bond with like Austin as well, and the guys from Sweden.
Austin's cleaned
Actually,
up his acting now. He cut his hair.
he's not Jesus anymore. He's not. Floridian Jesus has lost his hair. It's like Samson
Yeah,
losing
it's
his
like
hair.
I
That's
think
a
he had changed his handle to Boston Miller
damn.
because he's adopted a more of a haircut that would be acceptable in the fairly uptight northeastern parts of the United States
I know.
that have a little bit more standards when it comes to haircuts compared to
Oh
America's
no.
southeast.
Oh no. I'm not. I can't.
Uh,
I don't know. I don't know how to. I don't know how to respond to
Yeah,
that.
you're gonna have to reset your brain on Austin Miller, assuming that he hasn't just like grown it all back out by then.
Hey,
But I guess we'll have to
he's
see.
Flurry and Jesus. Anything can happen on that one. But outside the guy, you guys come over from the States. You've got the guys from the guys from Sweden are awesome. Robert and Axel, who were over last year,
Hmm.
over in Spain last year, they came over to
Yeah, I met a couple of
Andy
them. They're really
Andy's
cool
event.
guys.
They came over to Andy's event in Milton Keynes last year and enjoyed themselves. Axel actually did eventually have his drinks. He's a young lad, and he was like, "No, I'll have a go out for a party." Did he come out? Did he eck? No. But Ollie does a really good job of arranging a social event after any
Yeah.
event. So those of you who are coming over from wherever you're coming from, have faith in Ollie's ability to make a social.
Oh yeah.
Because it does.
No
Because
doubts there.
the karaoke was spawned from people coming over. It was great, and yeah, I'm just really looking forward to it. I'm buzzing for it. There'll be some streaming going on, obviously, which we're in the process of sorting out. Um, it's
We're
going to
gonna
be good
have
fun.
Australian team there, right?
If that will might be that's new news to me today.
Oh,
If that
okay.
is the case, if they
I thought
are,
I heard that somewhere. That because I
if
was
that
excited about that too.
if they are, that would be awesome because Aussies are always a good crack.
Yeah.
I imagine it might be some Aussie expats who are over this way, maybe that way, but I don't know if
Hmm.
it's only the
Okay.
guys. The guys, because it's in the summer over here. Obviously, it's their school time down there, so
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so the guys down there might not be able to come because some of the ones are teachers.
Ah,
So which you can't imagine. It's like this week we're going to learn about this spider can eat you and this spider can bite you and that sort of things. I don't know.
There's very important lessons in Australia.
It
Could be
definitely
life
is,
or
and
death.
it definitely is, and they can laugh at me after in the comments on that one because it's just a bit of fun that we have there. Um, yes, and I'm looking forward to seeing your handsome face grace this side of the Atlantic, and hey, maybe we might get drawn and play a game.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
Can you, what are you expecting from? Obviously, last year's was kind of like the inaugural, if you will, for Legion. What are you expecting, or you and your fellow compatriots expecting coming over this way? Not just in terms of the games, but in general, coming
Well,
over and playing some
I
games.
think that's a perfect segue because we were gonna sort of close out the podcast. Yeah, very well done. It's almost like you make a podcast of your own. You know what you're doing.
We just talk.
But
It's nothing special.
we were just gonna do but yeah, just like a little bit of cultural exchange. We had maybe questions for each other. And I think that is it's a perfect way to get into it. In terms of what we're expecting, my short answer is I have no freaking idea because the interesting thing I'm expecting to have no idea now, what it's going to be like when we get there, because the extra interesting part about WTC this year is that it's probably going to be like the first major thing in terms of like competition Legion
Yes, it will
after
be.
the April points update, which is also going to
Yeah.
include the cards update that we just talked about. There will be various adjustments. There's going to be rules adjustments that we think we know a little bit about one of them, like operatives and commanders being freed up in terms of slots, but uh, who knows what else is going to happen. And so the game, it's not going to be the legacy to 2.6 transformation, but it may be like a quarter or a third of the way there in terms of how different it is. So I'm excited about just not knowing what to expect, to be honest with you.
I think what you're going to get is a really, really interesting melting pot of a hodgepodge of different lists that are based on each individual area. I wouldn't say national area, countries, but areas
Mm.
meta, i.e., for you guys, the West Coast, East Coast is probably going to be completely different styles and plays. We in the UK, you can do different things in the South and North. Right? Oh, well, I say different things. If you're going to be in the tier one tryhard team, you're going to be running the super good stuff because
Yeah.
you're going to want to win, which you should expect in a major
Yeah. Yeah.
competition. So you're going to see EXD. You're going to see whatever Ollie takes, and I'm not saying it because I know what he's taking the world, so I'm not saying it on purpose. You're going to see what Ollie takes. You're going to see EXD. You're going to see whatever the hell Dave Grant takes, because what Dave takes is generally quite good. And then you'll see whatever Lila takes as well.
Yeah.
So this, and then whatever the Germans take. And obviously last year, the I wouldn't say it was probably a surprise to those of us who, to some of us, or to most. I don't want to say it's most of us. We didn't see France doing that because we don't hear about much what France do. And then his name escapes me and it's come out of my head. But the man who took 14 Act Ewoks, wiping the table with a bunch of tier one players. Right, he beat Ollie and he beat various other players, like really good players from Germany and Sweden, all this sorts of stuff. No one expected that. So the question is, are Poland going to pop up with something amazing, or is Norway going to pop up with something we haven't seen, or Denmark? It's you generally don't know what's going to crop up. You can expect at least one of something from the usual from someone,
Yeah.
but you don't know who's going to do what based on their local metas, because different countries run different things because they find it fun. I'm always remember when the Danes came over for a tournament in London years ago. They took XYZ and they ran into playing a load of Germans who took ABC,
Yeah.
and the play style was completely different. The way the Danes were, they say they were a bit more casual with rules,
Mm.
in that it's like, oh, if they've misplaced something, they just don't, it's forgive and forget, that sort of thing. Whereas the Germans like, no, 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 this is how it goes, that sort of thing.
999.
It's not just that's not me being stereotypical. It's just that was the way that's what happened, and
Yeah.
That was my
that's just
experience at Worlds too.
yeah.
The Germans were very like, no, this is how this is gonna go, and they weren't wrong.
No, you can no, and they're completely right, and they're well within the right to say no, you shouldn't do that, move that mini because it's been done, and all this sort of stuff. And you'll experience that if you play tier one players as well, because that's
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
this is the games, and
Of
that's
course.
high stakes, all that sort of stuff. So it'll be really fun. It'll be really cool. I look forward to seeing some old friends and people I haven't seen for a while and stuff. But you were talking about cultural exchange. I had the perfect I saw the perfect metaphor for UK and US stuff earlier today when I was in the shop. It's reversed on here, but it's a Cadbury
Oh,
Dairy
what?
Milk Bar infused with Oreos. Couldn't really get much more of a mix of UK US relations going on with that one.
What do you
Do you
think
guys
of
not have Oreos?
No, we have no,
Yeah,
we
they have
do,
Oreos.
but it's mixed in with the dairy with Cadbury's, which is our special chocolate. It's not your
Oh,
Reese's, which is awful. Cadbury is special.
hey, now you just called Reese's awful.
You
I
can
did, I did 100%. I
so
stand by that is the hill I'll die on. That is my bunker hill.
Cockles, you can call Hershey's awful all day because
Yep.
Hershey's does taste like cardboard that was injected with yoo-hoo and sugar. But Reese's is pretty good. I'm not gonna say that Reese's is like competing with, your fancy pants European chocolates or whatever, but it does the job, man.
All I'm going to say is British food, stereotypically, fair enough. You can accept some of that, but Cadbury Dairy Milk Chocolate, that's you don't. That's like insulting the American flag, man. To Britain.
Where where does a Snickers bar fall on your rating of chocolate? I have to
uh,
know because of your rating of Reese's.
I don't eat it because I'm not a fan of nuts in my chocolate. But if
Okay.
you like the Mars bar, I don't mind a Mars bar. I'll give it a solid 6.5, 7 out of 10. It's fine.
Okay. All right.
It's
But
just funny because like nobody ever has a Mars bar.
Yeah, I was gonna
it's no,
say
it's fine. But it's not. If don't get me wrong, it's not my number one chocolate. If I'm
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
pick
yeah.
if I'm going to pick something, it's probably going to be a Cadbury fruit and nut or something like that. But
Yeah.
you'll never get me picking Reese's or Hershey's over any British chocolate ever.
I hope that someday you'll have the chance to be over here in the Pacific Northwest and you can try fish and chips in the way that it was meant to be made with
Sorry,
our
what?
high
Sorry,
no,
what?
yeah, I'm being serious, is that I'm not sure if you've had fish and chips that was made with like halibut.
No,
Or I mean, you have cod over in UK, right?
cotton haddock. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So like we have cod here too. It usually comes from Alaska, and that's very good. But uh, it's like a thing that we do here is that like we're big on seafood up here,
yeah.
and we have halibut fish and chips, and it is really good. And I'm telling you, you should just
Well,
try
when
it.
I make my pilgrimage over to CenturyLink, sorry, Liverpool, yeah, I'll try it. That's fine. But
That's
back
right.
to
I'm
back.
sorry. In America, Evan, we call it fish and French fries, just so we're clear.
It,
Doesn't
no,
have
we
the same
don't
ring
though.
to
We
it, does
don't
it?
though. It's a dish, you know. It's like
But that's what they are. I just want to be clear.
I
This
know that's
bothers
what
me a
they are.
lot. Chips are very different than French fries.
Right, but that's fine. I know we don't call them crisps over here.
You should.
And
They're
we're not
crispy.
they are crispy. You're right about that. But fish and chips, it's like I don't know, it's the name of the thing. It's an eponym. It's just what it's called. So yes, they are French fries. I'm not gonna say I'm gonna get boardwalk chips, right? If I'm at the beach in Baltimore, is that you get boardwalk fries. But if it's with fish, it's fish and chips. You're
You
not
just
accepting this, Mike?
you
Mike,
just
this
don't.
is this
This
is a
has
time for
bothered
cultural
me. This has
exchange.
bothered me for a really long time.
We're getting
All I'm
into
all I'm going to say, Mike, is every time you call it French fries, you're giving the French undue credit on the potato-based goodness that is a chip, and they don't deserve it.
to
I
give
do
them due
think
credit, by the way. Antoine Grenet was the name of the
Thank you,
player.
Antoine. Yes, Antoine. Also, lovely dude, Antoine. Yeah,
Yes.
I mean we did start calling them freedom fries over here for a
you did.
We,
while.
You did.
we're
You did.
we're
I
not
remember that.
we're
I
not
remember
getting
that.
into that in this podcast.
I remember that. But no, back to the Legion WTC. It's going to be awesome. So you're bringing three teams. Obviously, you've got are you calling a team blue, red, and white? Because that is.
That's what
Tell
we
me that's
do.
true. Brilliant. Cool.
I know France has those colors too, but
We and well,
we like to think that they mean more.
The French, the Dutch, the
Yeah.
Russians, technically. But yeah, but no, it's gonna be fun. Um, I've said this I said to Endless Dave Zelenka a while ago on a message. Anyone coming over, and I don't, anyone from anywhere in the world coming over who's not been to Britain before, who is looking for advice, places, trips, and all this sorts of stuff, give me a shout. I'm happy to play tour guide to tell you where some good places to go or avoid. There's not many places to avoid. Good places to go, eat, and etc.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm happy to help out there. So just hit me up on Discord, and I'll be fine.
Well,
Go on.
that's very much appreciated. I am definitely going to be asking for your advice
That's
when I'm
fine.
over there, and
I mean,
I'm super
we've
looking
already been
forward to it.
talking about like, hey, what can I take you to that is quintessentially British/European, but annoyingly the football season's off. Sorry, soccer season's off.
Yeah,
The only thing I can think of is like, hey, there's a cricket game to go to, which is
I would
if you
do
like
it.
if
I'm
you like
telling you.
baseball, it's just a different style of baseball.
Well, but cricket is really just like having beer while something is generally happening in front
Hundred
of you,
percent,
right?
hundred
Right.
percent.
That's
So
baseball.
yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, same thing.
it's baseball, but the games like will sometimes last even longer than baseball does. So
Yeah, we have. So if you play the Australians in what's called the Ashes, you play them over 5 days.
test matches.
5 days, 5 times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But it's been fun.
Well, in the interest in culture and exchange, Mike, did you have a question for Cockles so that we can learn more about each other?
I did. So we've obviously seen a lot of amazing and creative strategies out of the folks across the pond.
Yes.
I'm curious if akin to seven activations or Vader Palpatine tank, anyone over there has made riot control anywhere close to good.
No,
Can Dave Grant make riot controls good?
but if there
Yeah,
is anyone who could, is there anyone who could give it a good go? It's
Yeah.
definitely Dave,
that's
and
why I'm asking.
he Dave's brilliant. Dave's great. He has a unique mindset in the way he looks at the game. And we did at the end of Andy's tournament, the MKGT last year. I did it. He had won it, and I did the
Mhm.
post chat, which was on stream with him. And it was interesting because I asked him about how he plays and how Ollie plays because that was the final, and he was talking about how the style Ollie plays is uses the same list, rinse and repeat, and repeats it. So basically, everything he does is muscle memory, and it's brilliant. So he just
Yeah.
know he knows what his plan is. As soon as he sees your list, he's like, "I'm going to do this," and it's muscle memory. He does everything.
Oh,
Dave,
I felt it.
yeah. So Dave is much more creative and adaptable in that
Yeah.
he knows each and every unit because he's learnt the rules to the nth degree, and he'll know how to play a certain unit and how to put, say, right troopers into a list and say, right, this is what I'm going to do. This is my plan. I'm going to run it up. And the similar way Jeff Porritt does it as well, Pod Free on Discord stuff. He does the same thing. This is my plan. I'm going to run the plan. I'm going to do it. And this is how I'm going to beat you by doing this, this, this. Yeah, okay, some units are suboptimal for doing certain plans. But if anyone was going to give Riot Troopers a good go, I would definitely say it'd be Dave. I mean, that said, if Riot Troopers are being super aggro, if you want to call that, then Lila will probably also do quite well out with it as well.
Yeah.
She of Black Sun World.
I think that if riot controls
Pink
were
Suns.
more successful at actually getting into the fight and being aggro,
Yeah.
then Lila would be more interested in them.
The
Right now, they
as
sort of fall halfway.
as you've said like earlier on about when AMG said and Will said, yeah, it was a misstep with the riot control. I think that's rectified by saying the marksman does this instead, and you can then go, oh, okay, marksman does this instead, sweet. So we'll see where they go. But like to answer your question, Mike, no, as no one's really made them work. Everyone tried, but if anyone's going to be able to do who would have been able to do it, it would have been Dave. But I think he's gone. Even Dave's gone. Not really possible.
That's fair. I figured it was a question worth asking because
No,
if you had asked me that if 7 activations would have made it to the finals of Worlds, I would have told you absolutely not before it happened, right? So
you'll always get something different or unexpected from Dave. I mean, he's the Vader Immortal stuff that he does, and then obviously like he did at LVO last year,
2023. I remember it well because I was on the victim.
23, Jesus, look at that. So yeah, the memes that came out from that is amazing. So yeah, you'll always get something creative and unexpected that will
Yeah.
beat you in a different way you didn't expect. And he comes up with big plays as well. That you just go, oh my god, I forgot I could do that, and you just go, and like force pushing.
And like you said, he had done the research like months ahead of time, like asking questions on the rules forum, keeping it on the DL about like, okay, so if if Vader was in the Gav and then Palpatine pulled the strings, that could Vader like move twice after that, and it was like all this stuff that I had no idea what was coming until it hit me like a giant train that was right in front of my face, and I had the ill experience of being on the receiving end. And for those who don't know, when there were these memes about the 7 act Gav list beating Blizzard Force, like I was Blizzard Force, that was me. I was on the losing end of the meme, and it was incredible and also hurtful. And I hope that nothing like that ever happens to me again. But it was a testament to the unique way that he sees the game. And so, yeah, I will say shout out to Brendan. I forget his last name, of the Inglorious Blasters podcast formerly, who did take Riot Control to the same tournament you were at, Mike, and he went 2-1, so he didn't do badly at all.
yes, but he definitely did not. And the riot control were not good, and he would have told you that. He told me that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
He
was
did
doing like wonky stuff with like he took Gideon for ruthless, and
that's the only way to make them work at all, in my opinion, is that you make them move 3 times with ruthless.
you cut their damage down by 25%.
I know.
We
We could do a whole podcast, as Kyle would say, about why that is not actually the ultimate answer. But I just want to say quickly, shout out to Brendan.
Yeah, it was cool. They look sweet. They looked
Cockles,
amazing.
yeah, that's the thing is that once they're more competitive, is that they're gonna make a table look really sweet. That's for sure. I had a question for you, Cockles.
Oh, go on.
Um, so you have a pretty decent contingent that are coming over to Adepticon.
Yep.
So American, I'm going to ask about American terrain
Yep.
has gone through some evolutions, and especially when Legion 2.6 started, I think that there was more of a focus on adding a little bit more terrain than maybe had been there before. And I think that tables have gotten a little bit denser than a year ago, for instance. And I'm
Mhm.
asking you, since you're on this podcast, and I want you to represent the entirety of the United Kingdom, okay?
Okay.
Uh, if they find the AdeptCon tables acceptable, can we cut it with the talk of what is an American table versus a European table?
No. The reason being
Damn it.
is no. I said it in jest. Probably is the answer. The reason is just it's a stereotypical thing that everyone uses to bash something. You drink warm beer, you've got crap tables. That's what I don't know that sort of thing. I think what the reason why I think that it sort of generated from it's not just the UK. It was a European.
Oh yeah, yeah, I'm
It was a
aware.
European
Yeah,
sort of opinion. Doesn't make it right. Everyone's got them. It's just like an arsehole. Everyone's got one. It's and some of them are full of stuff. It came from that, and that I think the where that shaped list building in the different regions
mm.
for obvious reasons. So
Gun
if
lines
you've
were more
got
popular here.
yeah, so if you've got a table that would atypical American US style table, which was really really cool looking. Some of they look amazing, but an area in the middle that is just like pew 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 straight across. That would make a gunline list more prevalent than something that is just likes a bit of that is up fast and moving and that sort of thing. I think now that the game has different objectives, it's
Yeah,
changed that a bit because the objectives are now no longer bang in the middle or the two on the side. It's now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the side, or 1, 2, 3 on the side, one in the middle. They all move around for shifting, or 2 and 2 for bunker assault. There's now a bit more variation. So it's
yeah,
now no longer here's the middle, scrap it out. It's now here's 2/3 of the board, scrap it out, while the other side is like I'm giving up that side, if that makes sense. Um, so the short answer is we'll never give that up because it's historical fun, but in reality we probably should. But sometimes old habits die hard.
I'll accept that as a realistic answer. That hey, it gives us something to complain about too, right? Because
Exactly. And just also, by the way, I said we drink warm beer. We really don't. That's a complete myth. Just put it
right,
out
I've been there. The beer is cold.
there. Tell people. Yeah, exactly. It's cool.
Cockles,
Um,
did you have other cultural questions for us?
yeah, and we kind of touched on it in that. Do you think the rule of cool is more important in a game like Legion than it is rule of win? Do you play?
Oh boy.
I mean,
Well,
so this is. I get this is going to be a very subjective question for the individual players, but if you're when you I'm in this weird space where a bit older family, all this stuff, so I don't get to play as much. So if I get to play, I want to play and enjoy.
yeah, yeah,
Yes, winning is fun. We all know that. But at the same time, it's like I've paid 30 quid, $40, $45 for a box. I want to put it out.
yeah.
Yeah, is it an optimal unit? No, but I want to play it because I've painted it and it looks fun. So when you're playing a game like Star Wars Legion, is Rule of Cool more fun or is it more when it all costs?
So I think I have a good answer, which is that even though there's some people who may think that the rule of win is more important, is that if you like Star Wars Legion, the rule of cool, I think, is tremendously more important because the majority of people who are buying this game are buying it for having fun. And when it comes to a Star Wars game, especially where most people who play this game are at least a little bit Star Wars fans, right? And so they're
Be surprised if they're not.
yeah, exactly, right. And that's not everybody, and like some would say that's getting to be like a little bit less and less over time, unfortunately. But I think that because of the nature of the universe is that people want to buy stuff that looks good on the table, that feels like it's recreating the feelings from whatever aspect of Star Wars they like, and even the true psychos out there I think even they will still, if they had a choice between two lists where they were like roughly equally good, but one of them felt like it was something more along the lines of the theme that they liked, is that they would probably play the latter one. Uh, Mike, I don't know how you feel about it.
I think I'm actually probably gonna maybe have an answer that is unexpected. At least I hope. But I actually think that they are not mutually exclusive, and
Not exclusive for sure.
I think that I think they compound in a way that is like exponential as opposed to linear. So like I think if you
Yeah.
are just here for rule of cool and that can like go 0 to 100, you can get to like 100. If you're just there for like rule of winning, you can get to 0 to 100. But I think if you can do both at the same time, you can get to like 300, you know?
Yep.
Um, I think my favorite like experience in this game was the 501st run when they were bad at LVO. And I say
Also
bad,
LVO
but like
2023, by the way.
yeah,
And Mike took them all the way to the
Yes, you
finals.
did.
and that
Yep.
was in the middle of the like Blizzard Force thing, and it was I think that was my favorite tournament. I didn't win it. I've won a bunch of tournaments, but like not that one. But that was my favorite and most memorable because it was like you're doing the rule of cool thing while winning, and it magnifies it so much more, I think. Um,
It's my
that
duty to reminder is that while winning, yes, but just not against either Kyle or myself during that tournament. Just wanted
well,
to put
you
that out
know,
there.
you know, uh, I'm just happy I made the game against Kyle a game. Our game was
You did you made it a game for
yeah.
sure. It was not a fait accompli, as they would say
Yeah.
over in France. Uh, yeah, so that is a good question, Coggles.
So that
I think that the rule of cool is just way more important for the game, and so
there
that's
was
sort of what I default to.
there was a reason I asked that question. I put it out there
Yeah,
for because it's kind of a message for anyone listening who doesn't consider who doesn't want who wants to play tournaments and things, but doesn't want to be intimidated by the fact that oh in the UK, oh, I'm going to a tournament and Dave and Ollie are there. I don't know, it's going to be hard, isn't it? Or someone who might be intimidated by that. Some people won't be. Some people are like, I don't give a crap. I just want to play games. But there'll be others over your way, or in Poland or in Germany, wherever, who'll be thinking, oh, I don't want to play because I might get beat really hard. It'll make you lose faith in the game. So,
yeah,
so
yeah,
my point is, if you're playing the game, you're playing the game to have a bit of fun. Just
yeah.
ignore the chaff that can be from the outside about some people saying, "Oh, you want to run this because it's this and this and this," and it's can be that comes from anyone speaking from a competitive way. Sometimes just if you're running and you want to play, just play games. Just run rule of cool sometimes because you'll find it more
Absolutely.
fun.
Totally
Exactly. Yeah.
agree. And yeah, so like if we are like doing a tier ranking and we put something on D rank, again, that's when we do that. I feel like I've said this just about every week since I started being on this podcast. But when we do that, we are talking to the people who want to know what's good. And but like I think that the people out there who tried and sometimes succeed in terms of like making those units work, and they do that because either it's a challenge or because they love that unit or whatever, is that like that is the lifeblood of Star Wars Legion, to me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I never want to do anything except encourage that.
Mm.
And yeah, so maybe if I say that enough weeks in a row, is that we'll get a little bit less of like, ah, the notorious scoundrels. They just want to trash the units that are bad.
Riot
And
control sucks.
yeah,
That's all
okay,
there is
so
to
there
it.
you go.
This is what it is, isn't it?
It just is what it is, exactly. Yeah, so again, yeah, very good question. And Coggles, I have a couple more just like lightning
No,
round
far away.
questions for you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, First of all, do you think you can, in less than a minute, tell us, given the fact that he just had a movie that was out about him that no one over here really understood, what's the deal with Robbie Williams?
Right. He okay. Got a counter ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Go.
Back in the 90s, he was part of a very, 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 very big boy band, probably the UK equivalent of say NSYNC or Backstreet Boys. And they when they split in the UK, he became a solo artist that became very, very popular. And then Gary Barlow, who was still in the group, was still popular there in Take That, and they had a bit of beef, which made it interesting. And then he's had an interesting life, but he's also quite talented. But he was used for his talent, and that's why.
Oh, I think that was maybe less than 30 seconds. That
Boom.
was right on, dude.
I mean, it
Uh,
could be there's more to it,
and
but yeah.
why is he a chimpanzee in this film that just came out? Can you explain that part?
What film
No,
are we
this was
talking about? Out of
It's
curiosity.
this is a film called Better Man that is it is a biopic about Robbie Williams.
I
But
can
in this
tell you.
biopic, uh, yeah, just to explain to Mike is that in this biopic about him is that he is actually being played by a CGI like sort of human-sized chimpanzee that's wearing human clothes, and I think everybody is interacting with him in the same way that you would interact with like a regular person, but he's a CGI chimp, and that's the movie. Go ahead, Cockles.
And the reason is, and he said in an interview, it was on the Graham Norton show. He said that he felt like a performing monkey, and that's the phrase he used. So everywhere he was going, he was like, "I felt like a performing monkey," and
Hmm.
so he said that the concept of the film where he effectively is a monkey in it is that it's playing on that
It's like
thing,
it's a
that
metaphor
phrase
for
where
his life,
it's a
so to
metaphor
speak.
for his life. Is I am a
Yeah.
performing monkey for everyone else, and that's the metaphor for his life, and that's the idea. That's what made it clever. Not that I've seen it, but I've read the interviews and reviews and all sorts of stuff because
Hmm.
my wife wants to watch it, but
What
time
was it
and
like over there?
I think it's taken quite well because he's quite a popular figure over here. He's I'm
I
trying to
think
think of
here it wasn't hated on over here or whatever, but like I saw it with one of my coworkers. I saw the trailer for it, rather, and we were just like, I don't think this movie is for us.
I'm trying to think of it. I'm trying to think of a US equivalent solo artist who obviously Robbie went global, but not he didn't really break the US as well as he would have liked to.
Hmm.
But the nearest I can think of is Justin Timberlake. But Justin Timberlake broke the UK, US, and other places. But that's the kind of left. What was it? NSYNC. Yeah,
We have
left
a
in.
lot of country singers who I'm sure don't make it outside of this country at
There you go.
all.
There you go. That's
That would probably be
well,
the
the fact I
closest.
can only name probably one. That's probably about it, really. But
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
that's it. He's probably the nearest equivalent like of Justin Timberlake in terms of that sort of split and went big and got big in the UK anyway. And that's why I
All
did
right,
not
there you
expect
go.
that. I'll be honest, wasn't expecting that question tonight.
Hey, it was just one of those things where I'd
It
actually
was Mike.
talked a little bit. I
Well,
talked a little bit about this on your Discord, and I was just like, man, I still don't understand why they put that in American theaters. But I have another question.
Yep,
What Star Wars character who is represented in Legion, uh, which would be the one that you could describe as a chav?
a chav.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus.
Do you even have chavs anymore? Is that like a
Yeah,
thing?
Council House and Violent is what that stands for.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Who is a chav? Maybe Watto? He's like, I've got a slave here and you can to fix my shop. I don't know, that's not, but it's like maybe that's the nearest thing I can think of. Or
Yeah.
maybe those little scrots that hang around Anakin when he's a kid. And he's like, I don't know, they're maybe them. But no, that's, oh,
So you can tell me if I'm right in terms of
yeah,
my
go on.
describing this to Mike, is that chavs are they're like annoying the annoying kids who and I'm talking about like teenagers that are into rap and that are sort of into it's like sort of a semi counterculture, but it's actually just sort of a culture of smoking weed and hanging out at McDonald's all the time, and that basically no one outside of their friend group enjoys their company, but they sort of insist upon themselves and they make themselves known in a way that's quite obnoxious. Is that fairly close, Cockles?
Yeah, that and that, but they're not always making themselves outwardly obnoxious. I mean, I was trying to think of it while you were describing it. It's like maybe the guy who goes, "Hey, you want to buy some dead sticks?" Maybe he's a bit
Yeah,
of a
that
chav
guy,
because
exactly.
he's the dealer. He's the chav dealer. I don't know that sort
Yeah,
of thing.
yeah.
Yeah, they're the only ones that immediately leap out. Again, wasn't expecting that question. I'm happy to answer that question, but
It's part of
yeah,
the cultural exchange, right?
it's
Like
kind of like
we're
me.
just learning about each other's
It's kind of like me
countries.
going in Star Wars. Which character do you think is most like Jersey Shore?
Boy. Well, now I feel like we have to answer that. What do you think, Mike? Because
Which one? Which character is most like Snooky? Or her
there's
name is
yeah,
it
I think
Snooky? Is she the
actually
one?
I think you just gave it to me. It's Jar Jar.
No.
Oof.
Uh,
Uh, yeah, I don't.
there's nobody in Star Wars who is that hopelessly and relentlessly self-absorbed as any of the characters in Jersey Shore. Like Sorry.
Chance of Lorem.
No, he's too boring. Yeah,
True.
there's nobody in Star Wars who's like aggressively trashy like that. So yeah, I think you
don't know.
give me a
Yeah, I'm
little
trying
bit
to.
of a conundrum. Mike, do you have anything
Yep.
better?
I don't know. I heard self-absorbed and I immediately thought Anakin.
Yeah, actually, Anakin there's some crossover between Anakin and the situation a little bit.
Yeah.
Certainly in terms of like self-opinion.
Um,
Uh,
but if we're talking about completely self-absorbed, it's got to be Palpatine, right?
Mm.
yeah, but he's a lot smarter than any of the characters in Jersey Shore. So you
That's
don't need
totally fair. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that yeah, I'm not even gonna say it. Let's move on.
we all have parts of the culture that we would hope that the rest of the world doesn't see. And for us, that used to be Jersey Shore. Luckily, that was a flash in the pan.
It's all right.
Uh,
The only way is Essex for us. Painful.
Cockles,
that's the thing is that we wouldn't even get that.
do you know what a salt potato is?
No,
That's not strictly an American thing. It turns out
no,
Americans don't know what it is either. I'm just
no.
curious
I,
if
I don't know what
anybody.
that is.
Yeah,
What is that?
it's just a potato boiled in salt and then you eat it.
Where is this from though?
Upstate New York, apparently. I thought it was like an Irish thing, but
I was going to say it feels like an Irish thing without casting too many sort of cultural appropriations going. Because
no, I mean I'm
potato.
I'm I'm Irish. There's like a lot of Irish immigrants in upstate New York, and I think it was just like there's a lot of salt in upstate New York, and Irish people tend
There's a
to,
lot of salt. There's a lot of potatoes.
yeah. And
There's
I
a lot of Irish
I
people.
kid you not.
Perfect.
We just have like around St. Patty's Day and stuff. Like you'll find people like out in the street with like a big cauldron of boiling water that we just dump salt and potatoes into, and you just eat them. You eat them after they're boiled, and sometimes you slap some butter on them.
To be fair, you can have that in a roast dinner over here. Boiled potatoes with a bit of salt in,
Yeah,
and then just have your roast chicken or beef, whatever. That's fine.
yeah.
Yeah, roast dinners are really good over there.
See, Evan, these are the messages you need to send out to the rest of the American
I mean,
public.
so yeah, that's the
food
thing
isn't
is,
shit.
well, yeah, I think that, and it's worth remembering that a favorite dish over here, certainly in any Indian restaurant, is chicken tikka masala,
Oh my God, yeah.
which actually is more English than it is Indian in a lot of ways. It was an Indian immigrant in England who invented it,
Correct.
so like culturally Indian, but it was actually a British invention.
Brindian, as we call it.
Yeah. So that's the thing is that I think probably if people thought about it a little bit more, it's one of those dumb stereotypes that it just like persists for some reason, even though you wonder how it persists, right? Because like it's not like Monty Python's on anymore. It's not like like I don't think any comedy shows are like talking about these like stereotypes of different countries in Europe. So I guess it's just like persisting from parents like joking with their children about like what England is like and what France is like. It's a weird thing. I don't know.
It's just one of those fun things that just where does any stereotype come from? A bit of a joke and a bit of love hate relationship in the same way.
Sure.
Just take it for anything. Just the best relationship is the France Britain one. They have make fun of Les Anglais and we make fun of the frogs, that sort of thing. It's never going to go away. It's just one of those fun things.
So I guess that's in the world of Legion, that's what American tables are. It's just one of those fun things that you're never
It's
going to
one
give
of those
up
fun
on.
things we're just never going to give up, and we're going to cling on to it
All right, well,
like Agincourt.
yeah, bringing it back to English monarchy. Of course, you're obsessed. You're obsessed with your kings and queens.
Yeah, we are.
We're the opposite of it over here, as you might imagine.
Are
Well,
we?
well, that's okay. It's time to end the podcast. So, Cockles,
Hello.
thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
People can hear you on the That's No Moon podcast.
They can.
And I am just gonna say you have an incredible podcast. You do an amazing job. You're a very good producer. You have a good sort of rotating contingent of people, and then Ollie's there too. And
and Ollie's there too. Brilliant.
and so it's worth a listen. If there's nothing there. There's a lot of Englishness in that podcast, believe me. And then, sometimes you even have some Scots and Welsh. And I'm not, have you invited any Irish folks in your podcast yet, or is that something
Yeah,
you're
no,
sort of working towards?
Dave Nolan of the
Okay,
guy who
okay,
is
good for you. Good for you
the
reaching out like that.
guy who runs WTC has been on. He will be on again when we talk WTC in a couple of weeks' time.
Okay, great. But it's just generally a Grey Legion podcast. And so
Thank you very much.
if there's any Americans who are like, oh, some local podcast from England, it's like, first of all, they have like a huge, but also tight knit community because of how easy it is to travel there, uh, compared to our wonderful huge country with no public transportation. And it's great. So you should have a listen. And Cockles, I don't know if on top of that there's anything you wanted to sort of give a plug to.
Yeah, so you're very kind. Thank you very much. That's very kind of you to say that. It's always nice to hear things, and same goes back to you guys as well. It's always good to hear. But
Oh, thank you.
the thing that I love most about this game is the community.
Yeah.
And one of my things that is key in my brain is to bring people together, and I've done that. You were saying about very Englishisms, but yet we run as a podcaster an American Football Fantasy League that we
That's
do for
right.
charity, which you played in and various others played in, and all that sort of stuff. And I'm going to be doing that again this year, but I'm going to expand the format to what's called best balls. Those of you who are fantasy football veterans will know what that means. For those of you who aren't, basically it means you pick your team and that's it, and then it'll automatically pick your best players after you've drafted them in any given
Oh,
game. So you don't have to manage it. And the reason I'm
oh,
going
I
to open
like
that out
that.
is, yeah, so the reason I'm going to open that out is I'm going to try and expand it as large as I can with as many different divisions and things as I can to get lots of people playing. And the only way to enter is by basically donating money to one of select charities. So, if you're in the UK, it'll be a specific charity in the UK. If you're in America, it'll be one of maybe two because you've got East, West Coast, that sort of thing. And I'll try and pick something that is not a big national one. I'll try and pick something that is small and less well heard of. And the way to enter will be stick minimum $5, £5 our way, €5 if you're in France or Poland or Germany, or whatever, to just enter. And there'll be some prizes. It's in the early days of its concept, but we've done the successful one with the main draft and stuff like that as Ray, and we did. So what was it? I think it was about $300, and it went to Meeples for Peoples this year. This
Right.
year, last year it went to a guide dog charity. A dog's paws for support. I can't remember. Sorry, it's going to go in my head. So yeah, going to do more of that, and that's what I love, bringing people together, because then we've had a laugh like that. We've had a laugh with the charity stuff like that. So I'm going to be doing more of that. So if you're interested, please pay attention to our social media stuff that we're going to put out there much later in the year, because I know the football season, football season is not on.
Football.
Football season is not on, but when it gets into the summer.
Yeah, that's something to be excited about. I had a lot of fun in those fantasy leagues, and
Yeah, it's good fun.
it's cool how much you guys like football over there.
It's a hidden thing,
American
it's
football.
yeah, it's one of those niche things. Not everyone likes it, but it's fun. And had I got the chance to play, I would definitely have played because it's fun. But yeah, so please keep an eye on socials. And Evan, thank you for the kind words. And if you do enjoy the show, just message us and we can hook you up with some players. We're always getting people messaging saying, "Hey, I'm from York in the UK. Is there any people?" And we try and hook them up and connect, that sort of thing. Because more people play, more fun for everyone.
That's right.
I should just Andy would I know, because I know he's a fifth trooper, and he'd not forgive me if I didn't say Chopper Base Open, his tournament, his baby, the biggest in the UK,
Hmm.
in Peterborough in August. I want to say the second weekend in August is now probably halfway through selling its tickets. So if you are looking to travel
Wow.
over, it is the big one.
Yeah.
It's all in a hotel. The hotel's will have plenty of rooms for you, all that sort of stuff. He isn't, if I recall rightly, limiting the number of tickets because of the size of the venue. So at the moment it's set to 124, 128, 128. But if he has 130 people play, he's not going to say no. He
Yeah.
has that capacity. So anyone looking to travel, we are a welcoming bunch.
It was like 110 last year. Yeah, it's a huge tournament.
Yeah,
something like that.
and it has the creme de la creme of our UK players playing,
Yeah.
and stuff. So yeah, if you are looking to travel, please let us know. And again, if you're nervous about it or not know what to do, where to fly to, reach out. I'm Cockles Faulkner on Discord. I'm happy to help anyone looking to travel over or do anything or has questions in general. And that's my plug. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Yeah. Yeah. So the MKGT it's sort of like the LVO of.
Oh, it's Chopper Base Open now, mate.
Or Chopper Base Open. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Chopper Base Open. It's sort of
he's changed cities and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It's the same spirit, but it's different name in a different city.
Yes,
but,
it's different branding.
Yeah, it's the same sort of idea in terms of like it's the biggest like non-worlds tournament that is held here is LVO, and so over there, like it is actually the biggest tournament of the year in the UK.
Yeah. And what makes it even better is it's not run by a company, it's run by Andy who loves the game. And that's what makes it
there
unique.
you go.
Not that LVO isn't, but I mean it's just him. There's no other game system, it's just him.
It's not a it's
with
not
Louisa,
a
I should say,
for-profit.
with Louisa as well. No profit.
Right. It's not a for-profit venture the way that, LVO is. And that's fine, but like, I do think that there is something special about the way that that's being run. So cool.
And if you have questions about jokes about Andy and dogs, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, you said it was what was the pause for
ability? Thank you.
Pause for ability.
As soon as you said pause, it was like it's called pause for ability is what the charity that went last year, and that was Brendan's charity actually.
The joke that I thought of is that if Andy had been charged, it would be pause for porridge.
Pause for dessert.
Hi, Andy.
Like
Yeah, thanks again for that, Cockles, and for being here. I'm sure we'll have you back. I still owe you like 4 podcasts in terms of the number of times I've been on yours compared to vice versa. But very glad to have you. And Mike, how do we land this plane?
Yeah, this has been the Notorious Scoundrels, season 4, episode 7. And I remember to actually say that this time.
Thank you, Mike.
I'm Mike.
I'm Evan.
I'm Cockles.
Stay fresh, cheese bags.